American Crime Story, but he plays Al Cowlings on there. It's Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Welcome back to our show.
Hey, Frank, thank you. I feel like I was just here.
I know.
This is cool. Thank you for having me back.
I was so excited about oh my, so we only kind of like, teased us about the show then, and then we all watched it last week with the all hour and 20 minutes of it sitting there, and it was very gripping, and we all gave it a big thumbs up, which I think we all were hoping for that, and then we were so pleased when we could do that.
Yeah, thank you.
How does it feel to be part of this story that we all kind of lived through, and now it's we're really living it again?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome. I think, on first listen, I think, most people kind of go, why that show? But it's really great to be part of such a phenomenally strong cast. And with Ryan Murphy telling the story, as you've seen from the first episode, already you're taking on a pretty cool ride.
And tonight's the biggie. Yeah. Speaking of
the
the
real
ride.
ride.
Literally.
I think one of the most amazing things about it, to me, is because I was living in LA at the time, and the way they put it in context right from the start, showing the riots and things like that.
Yes.
And I realized as I was watching it that I was feeling intensely anxious right from the start, just because it reminded me of how tense things started getting, and once again, and that it was such a horrible time in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And it was just really awful, and even though I knew where everything was going and what was going to happen, because I followed that case religiously, and you couldn't help but do that. And if you remember, Harvey Levin had his own half-hour show every single night talking about the trial.
Yeah.
But it's weird to go back and realize how all-encompassing, all-consuming it was.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that, it's we're telling a period piece, if you will, 20 years ago, but there's something that still feels very contemporary about that time period. And I think, one of the things that we may have all forgotten through the years is how much race did play a part of the trial, how much the relationship between police brutality and the black community, how prevalent it was then and still is now.
And exactly, and also taking a side on weighing his relative guilt or innocence, the water cooler conversation, having that sense of it being racially charged, even though nobody wanted it to be. You didn't want to feel like you were taking a bigger side than you were, but somehow it just all felt that way.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, I think we tend to look at things, all of us, we look at things through the filter of our own experience.
Yes.
So for all of us to, even though it's 20 years later, we all get to, relive that time period, hopefully 20 years wiser. But we're still all kind of, looking back on it and remembering, where we were and being reminded of what that time period was and how tense it was, as you said.
It's such an important thing that you said, though, about filtering it through our own experience. I think for a lot of white people watching particularly like the verdict, it was sort of when somebody would say, "You don't think white guys get away with murder all the time?" Even if you believe he was guilty, But I mean, there was and sort of like, and a lot of us were, we're just, I hadn't really thought about it that way, and so it was because it was just people. The reaction to the verdict was different. The reaction to the whole thing was different. Do you think the media would have been as taken with the story if she had been a black woman?
Well, how much traction did Phil Spector get with his case?
Yeah.
I think it being different races, allows for a more interesting story, if you will. But in direct answer to your question, no, I don't think the case would have gotten as much play, and the media would not have taken as much of an active, vested interest in it if Nicole was black.
One of the things that it's hard to describe to a lot of people who maybe are much younger now and weren't fully aware of it, or people who grew up only knowing O.J. Simpson post the O.J. Simpson trial,
Right.
is how he really was America's golden boy.
Right.
I mean, and that I remember really struggling with that shift in the early days, right after the murder, just like the initial news and just being, what, OJ? No way.
Right.
I mean, and then slowly thinking, oh my God, he did it. He really did it. But that is something that today it's a whole different world. But at the time, he was a huge name.
Yeah.
And he was golden
and
Everybody
beloved.
loved him.
Playing a real person. I don't know, have you done where you've have you played a character before where it's the guy who it is watching the show probably?
No. And it's interesting because there's not a lot of information on AC. I scoured the internet and doing research trying to find information about this man, and there's more to be found on the relationship between AC and OJ than on AC, the man himself. So a lot of what I had to depend on was reading about the relationship and understanding the complexities of the dynamic of that kind of relationship. And you've got two guys who've been best friends since 8th grade. They both play football. One becomes a star, and one, spends his life in the shadow of the other. And that makes for, a very complex relationship. And there was a certain devotion and love that AC had for OJ. So that's really all I could go on in terms of, building this character. And ironically enough, there was some rumblings that AC threatened to sue if the show made him look bad. And my portrayal of him was this guy who really loved his best friend, and whether he believed OJ was guilty or not in the moment, took back seat to his first instinct to be there and look out for his friend.
I'm sending him a note. I'm saying, dear AC, you are lucky that Malcolm-Jamal Warner is playing you. I don't want to hear another word about it.
Right.
Frank DeCARO, serious action. I'll send a note.
Right.
And he should,
Thank you, Frank.
He should
It's kind of interesting that he has, I mean, because he was never hugely in the spotlight except due to this trial.
Yeah.
But that he's really, you've got to respect the fact that he's not tried to capitalize it and has tried to get away, because this must have been hell for him.
Yeah, I mean, this was, OJ was his best friend, and I guess one could argue was his life.
Yeah.
So there was such a huge upheaval in terms of his own personal life when all of this went down with OJ. And I really, honestly, my personal belief is, had they remained friends post-trial, that OJ would not be in jail now. Because AC was the guy who really had OJ's back, and I don't think AC would have let OJ go to Vegas and do that dumb stuff he did.
Yeah.
What about, the first episode ended with the beginning of the chase. The Bronco is on its way. The Bronco's on the freeway, last we saw it. So I'm assuming this episode will we see what's going on inside the Bronco?
Tonight is definitely a crazy episode because it's all about the chase.
And where did you guys come up with what was going on inside the Bronco?
Well, I mean, that was one of the scenes where obviously we had to take creative license because no one knows what really went on but AC and OJ. So obviously, the scene was scripted, but we really, Cuba and I and Ryan, we just really all put ourselves in that situation, knowing what we know about the characters based on the research that we were able to do on the characters and based on what the script that was written that was there for us. There was definitely a lot of emotion going on because it took us 2 days to shoot that chase. So by the end of the second day, we were worn out.
I can only imagine. So have you seen the episode we're going to see tonight? It's called The Run of His Life on American Crime Story, The People versus O.J. Simpson.
Yes, I saw tonight. So I've only seen the first 2 episodes.
And how did it feel watch? I'll bet it's got to be just such a great, it's all you guys. I mean, this is great. This tonight's episode. I can't wait.
And it's great because it's just shot so well. Just this rack focus and just the way it's shot, the way it's cut, it's really exciting. And I just did Good Day LA this morning, and they were showing the clips from that, and I'm sitting there like, I can't wait to watch this again tonight.
I was going to say, and I don't know how many other episodes you're in, but I bet you're as eager as we are to keep to I'm like, come on, I can't wait 10 weeks. I got to see this. Let's keep watching.
Yeah, because it's 10 episodes. I'm in 4 of the episodes. And because I was not privy to the scripts that I was not in, there's a lot about the show that I myself don't know. So like everyone else, I'm looking forward to sitting down in front of the television and watching how the series unfolds.
It's funny. You wonder how stuff we all lived through can be so gripping, but my God, that first episode was tense.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of that has to do. Again, it's an incredibly strong cast, as I said, obviously, but the way it was shot, the filmmaking, it makes it just as compelling.
Is it fun when this is like sort of the all-star game, watching when you look at everybody who's in this, it's amazing. Is it fun for you to be, you're playing with people who are as good as you. So it's some serious acting chops up there. So is it fun?
It's awesome. Courtney Vance, I know Courtney Cuba and I actually all worked on Tuskegee Airmen 20 years ago. But, Courtney does such an impeccable job as Johnny Cochran. I read one of the reviews that said, Courtney B. Vance was born to play this role. I think the biggest surprise, pleasant surprise of all, I think, is going to be David Schwimmer, especially if people who only know him from Friends. He does a really wonderful job embodying Robert Kardashian.
And he gave us our laugh the first episode. I'm on the list. Sir, there is no list. Malcolm-Jamal Warner, you're on our list right at the top. I'm so thrilled that you could be with us again. We love you to pieces. Thanks for coming to see us, and continued success, and congratulations on this very gripping retelling of the O.J. saga, the People versus O.J. Simpson American Crime Story. We'll watch the second episode. This is the biggie episode for you tonight, I would assume. Yes,
it is.
I can't wait. We're going to watch Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frank.
When we return to the Frank Joe More Funny on Sirius XM Out Q.